Licensed games have been around for what feels like forever. No matter the console, even back in the arcades, you could walk in and see a video game based on a thing you know, usually to bad results. The reputation of tie-in movie, cartoon, anime, TV show, reality, television, video games has been through the ringer, usually on the lower end, and for good reason. These things were a dime a dozen. There's been more Star Wars and Marvel video games than some of the most legendary franchises out there, and half of those are slowly being forgotten over time. You might remember the goofy Han Solo dance from Star Wars Connect, but true pain is Star Wars Yoda stories for the Game Boy Color. Yeah, that's the only song in the game too. One 30-second loop for 3+ hours, a terrible port of a mediocre, nearly unplayable Windows game, but something I bet most people have forgotten about. So this one goes out to those, the licensed games from yesterday that aren't notorious for good or bad reasons. The things unported, stuck on an older console, or just fallen through the cracks at release. Let's just say, if you wanted to hear someone talk about Yogi Bear for the Wii, or some cursed Sega Master System tie-in, you've come to the right place. So yo, it's Austin, and today I'm gonna try to get something moving on the regular. I'm talking about licensed games you probably forgot about. Or at least I did. We've done something similar in the past, but I thought it was time to revisit the topic, or hey, even make it a reoccurring series, because there sure are a lot of these. Who would have thought nearly 50 years of video games and intellectual property tie-ins are being slowly erased by time? We're gonna be hopping all over the place today, but before we get started, speaking of deleting, a quick word from today's sponsor, Delete Me. You know what's important? Your personal details, and unfortunately we live in a time where data brokers exist and sell your individual data. A lot of data is already out there getting gathered en masse, and frankly it sucks. That can ruin job opportunities, facilitate ID theft, and just make living harder. We've all got the right to stay private and protect our personal details, and Delete Me is a service that'll help you do just that. I'm sure we all get the occasional robo spam call. I mean, like, who calls people anymore? Seriously, who even answers? Well, all you gotta do with Delete Me is sign up for an account and they'll go and remove your personal data from these data brokers. Not just that, but Delete Me will actively monitor these sites and repeat removals. You'll get a privacy report in 7 days upon signing up, all hands-free as Delete Me's privacy experts do their thing. Delete Me service is something that I think is really important, and also something that I've suggested to multiple friends and family members at this point. It's a simple sponsor, but something efficient. So if this is something you're interested in, I highly recommend heading to joindeleteme.com/Austin20 and using the code Austin20 to save 20% off today. Thanks to Delete Me for the sponsor, but for now we need to head back to the main event, licensed games. We talk about these all the time on this channel, but today I want to start in what some people call the worst era, specifically 8-bit consoles, good old retro games. Because, well, it can only get better, right? Right? Retro licensed games can go either way. You've got great classics like the TMNTs by Konami, as well as some of the worst things you'll ever put your hands on. Stuff that's been covered to death, like Fester's Quest, Friday the 13th, whatever the heck LJN was doing with the Uncanny X-Men. Although I don't really hear many people talking about stuff from the Sega Master System, which makes it the perfect console to have a video game based on ALF, simply called ALF. What is ALF? That one's a little before my time. I only heard about it with people memeing it up on the internet because, well, a family sitcom show starring a Muppet alien isn't something you see every day. I just like the idea that an alien crash lands on Earth and decides to spend all of his time sitting, playing video games, and cracking jokes to himself.
Ha! Yeah, I kill me.
Truly a catchphrase, and also a good summary of ALF for the Master System. Oh man, ALF the video game, coming in at a svelte 30 minutes long once you figure out its insane structure, is a series of things that happen with no explanation. You're just trying to repair your spaceship, so of course you gotta collect cats to scare rats, pick up salami to beat bats, and continue to wander around aimlessly while looking for the next trigger. Put on a swimsuit, buy stuff from stores, avoid someone that I can only refer to as the diddler, and try not to turn this off in sheer frustration from the constant one-hit deaths. Like, how am I supposed to kill these bats when the hitboxes are so random? Eventually you make it to space, enjoy that ending with static text text images and wonder why you spent over $175 for a boxed copy. Alpha fans are another breed. This was officially published by Sega, by the way. They didn't have to do this, but they did.
I'm just trying to tell you there's more than one way to skin a cat.
You've been reading my recipe book.
There are a ton of licensed games like this. Stuff that's been lost to time with a small print covering something that may or may not be relevant in big 2024. Alf these days? Maybe not, although it's kind of funny that we get ourselves a new Beetlejuice now, one with a Rotten Tomatoes score that decimates Borderlands. Say his name and he appears. Beetlejuice seems to be a decent flick. Beetlejuice on the NES? Well, it's made by Rareware at least. Yeah, that Rare. Why wasn't this on Rare Replay? Beetlejuice is hard. It's tough, but fair. You play as old Juicer going stage to stage doing something. I'm not too sure Rare knew anything about the film or that the titular character was a villain, so instead they have him running through sewers, houses, buying form changes that turn him into birds that can breathe fire, and whatever this is. All the while Michael Keaton's telling crappy one-liners and random statements. It's okay, but it does have that classic banger David Wise soundtrack. Similarly to Alf, it's a game that's being forgotten and slowly left behind in time, but also an example of something decent. And we haven't even dipped our toes into the Amiga. Oh man, the Amiga had a ton of licensed games, most of which are practically unknown. Back then, home computer gaming was way less common, especially in the States. I knew a single person growing up that even had the Commodore Amiga. I don't remember what model, but I do remember my first video game ever. Mickey's 1-2-3's The Big Surprise Party.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I may not be an iPad baby, but I can sure count to 9 real good. Look at him dance. The Amiga and licensed games feel like a barely covered, endless trove of things, let alone video games in general. A scene that's mostly covered by British people for some reason, since we had consoles or whatever, which also means they got games like Thundercats, Tom and Jerry, Akira, some of which are terrible. Oh, and never forget Apidia, the game where your girlfriend dies, so you drink a potion and you turn into a little bee and engage in some schmupping. Yeah, this one's actually pretty good though, except for this one boss. What are we looking at here? Whatever, Europe might have gotten some cool video games, but we got more retro licensed video games like Beauty and the Beast for the Sega Genesis. Well, you win some, you lose some. Beauty and the Beast actually has several video games. Everyone knows this film, it needs no intro. Disney doing the oldie remake and a classic 90s animation that spawns more sequels and more remakes. And of course, video games, none of which were developed by Capcom, which was rare. Capcom and Disney went hand in hand in the 80s, but that slowed down when the Super Nintendo and Genesis were big, leading to a plethora of games by different developers. You had Beauty and the Beast for the SNES by Hudson and Probe. We even had a European exclusive NES title with the soundtrack slowly approaching that Tim Follin sphere. Seriously, this starts sound hard. Beast looking a little tigery though. Then for the Sega Genesis, we had 2 entirely different games. Beauty and the Bee, Belle's Quest, and Roar of the Beast. 2 games for 2 different audiences using the same engine and assets. It's like Harvest Moon and Harvest Moon for girls, except years prior. Old publisher Sunsoft here on that 2 versions trend before Pokemon.
This adventure game will appeal to girls as Belle races through the forest mazes. Boys will be enthralled by the intensity and adventure as the Beast fights off attackers.
And hear me out, they both suck. Belle's Quest was allegedly designed to be easier, which is funny considering it's also incredibly difficult. It's not like it's very complicated. You can walk, you can crouch, hide in the foreground, jump, normal platformer things, but you also have no means of combat. So if a bird happens to fly too close, Belle's gonna lose a book or whatever and maybe eventually die. Don't forget to pay attention to everything everyone is saying, maybe even writing it down on paper, because despite this being easy, Beauty and the Beast has some maddening stage design. One literally just called Maze, where you have to reference a bunch of notes and follow a Lost Woods style path as you're being pelted with plants and boars. Then you're just running around collecting keys to open doors into more series of other doors. Endless doors. Don't forget the horse sequence. Yeah, okay. No, you try it. It's worse than you think. Then, because this game has no combat, you arrive in town and we're immediately yoinked over to the credits where Beast defeats Gaston. You dance to collect a couple hearts and game over. You did it in about 30 minutes. Let's check out Roar of the Beast. Yeah, okay, I see why they were calling this the hard one. Roar of the Beast has you going through the same story as Beast, except instead of being useless, you can scream and slap. Jump kicks, charge punches, it's all here. It just also feels like crap. There's like maybe 4 or 5 actual stages in this game, which are then split up into longer sections of the same thing. It's like a 1A, 1B type of deal. Go through the exact same looking stage with a different layout, rinse, repeat until the next one kicks in. I guess there's bosses too. Yo, why is he so happy? This is like the one guy from Alpha and Beast mode. You really just spend a lot of time poking a guy one time and then backing away. Stages should be a fun romp like other platformers, but instead you're pacing forward a few steps at a time, jumping over traps you can sometimes barely see, and hoping you make it to the end so you can be greeted by "Well done, Beast." Yeah, seriously, it does this every time. Well done, Beast. Both of these are pretty terrible. I think they could have been a single video game, but hey, you gotta double up those sales, I guess. If for some bizarre reason you desire a good or even great Beauty and the Beast video game, well, you're probably out of luck. What? I'm sorry. A board game adventure for the Game Boy Color doesn't sound too appealing.
That's enough.
While people may not think about it much these days, something like Beauty and the Beast having multiple video games isn't really a big surprise. However, if you told me that there was a Spawn Game Boy Color game made by Konami, I'd probably fact check ya. Well, it's real, and has voice acting.
Hey, Ugly, looking for something? Who are you? What do you want? Me? Just call me Clown.
That's rare. I didn't wake up this morning thinking that some of the creators of Dance Dance Revolution would also be in charge of Spawn, but here we are. Based on the comic, thankfully, and not the live action movie, Spawn is a very simple action platformer, run and gun type of deal that is a lot more interesting than I thought it'd be. You got a Mega Man style stage select where you can beat the first 4 stages in any order before making your way to the end. The whole thing is about Spawn regaining his powers, noted by a complete lack of his iconic cape, although that thing looks sick in the intro cutscene. I mean, granted, it's also kind of just a generic platformer. It doesn't really do anything too special, but also I wasn't expecting a ton from the Game Boy Color. A nearly hour-long platforming romp was exactly what I would have wanted, even though I had no idea who Spawn was. Not until I saw him wielding a giant axe in Soul Calibur, which made me a little confused when he was using guns. Clearly, I should read the comics. Reviewers from the time were not favorable though, with IGN saying, literally, I thought we left generic platform games to rest back in the NES days. Boom, 3 out of 10. Just as good as God Hand? Okay, well, I thought it was pretty cool. You know what critics like though? The Metal Gear Solid inspired Chicken Run for the PlayStation 1 and Dreamcast, because of course, the film Chicken Run needs a stealth action espionage video game. It's actually pretty solid. Developed by Blitz Games, the people who brought us Glover, Frogger, and Bill Gates' favorite fusion, Frenzy, Chicken Run does what it does really well. If you haven't seen the film, it's pretty good. It's a goofy parody of The Great Escape, starring animated chickens in that classic Wallace and Gromit style. Wait, what do you mean Chicken Run got a sequel last year? This thing's also got a higher score than Borderlands. You take control of one of several chickens throughout the story, doing various tasks in order to make your great escape. Digging holes with spoons, dressing up like Miss Tweety, and playing various minigames along the way. I can't really call it a platformer because it's not, and it's also not quite Metal Gear Solid, but instead its own unique thing. It's stage progression based with an evolving map depending on which day it is. And those areas that you unlock have hidden things in them and tons of obstacles to avoid. And oh yeah, you're gonna get caught. The real question becomes, who is this game for? I mean, it's not like Chicken Run's a super successful kids franchise. People aren't clanging and banging down the streets demanding a new Chicken Run, despite us getting one. But it is a pretty solid licensed tie-in game, perfect for a rental and some British-inspired laughs back in the day. Though, it came out the same week as Final Fantasy IX and Shenmue, so yeah, there was no way I'd be picking this up. Good try though, y'all.
No chicken escapes!
They're going to kill us all.
You know what doesn't get brought up much these days? Cool Spot, the classic 7-Up mascot that had a video game. It's just like some weird red circle with sunglasses running around and talking with a high pitch filter. Spot here wants you to drink sugar water, and just like several other fast food and or soda companies, he's got himself a merch line, and not one, but 2 video games. People seem to know the original, but the sequel, Spot Goes to Hollywood, is often looked over. I wonder why. Going for the same point of view as Sonic 3D Blast, which is unfortunate, Spot Goes to Hollywood came out on the Genesis, Saturn, and I've got a PlayStation 1 copy that I've had for years. The game itself has you rolling from, I guess, set to set as Spot starring in classic films. He gets sucked into a camera, each of which are brutally difficult and too long. Seriously, a single stage of this thing has you going 5 to 12 minutes just moving forward while trying to avoid everything in the kitchen sink. At least there's checkpoints, although that won't do much to save you from this. Nice, game over. Back to the start. Man, that intro cutscene feels like a fever dream. Spot Goes to Hollywood isn't very good. It's frustrating. It stars an annoying character that has no real personality besides being an advertisement for soda, but I guess on that scale, it's okay. Advergames, as we've chronicled on this channel, are usually terrible, but Cool Spot and Spot Goes to Hollywood are okay. EGM 7 out of 10, let's go. Woo, Batman. Everything all right, brother?
I could use some air support, since I can't fly at all.
Okay, one more shocker, and this is one I've been thinking about for years. I think it's safe to say that pretty much everyone knows Charlie Brown and Peanuts, or just Snoopy if you're in Japan, where they have displays set up with just the animals and none of the kids, which, yeah, that's fair. Well, back in 2006, Bandai Namco, yes, Bandai Namco teamed up with new developer Smart Bomb Interactive to bring us Snoopy versus the Red Baron, a video game about a small, cute dog being a World War I fighter pilot. Yeah.
Right now, I'm pretty sure he's a World War I flying ace.
Did they get actual kids to do the voiceover? The answer is yes, I guess, and Charlie Brown is actually the voice of Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I have a hard time understanding some of them though.
I need you to fly to my flight school. Use the red eye to find your way there.
We are about to embark upon a great and noble venture as we go to defend the front lines of Verdun.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, let's do this. They don't make them like this anymore, folks. Snoopy versus the Red Baron might be a confusing concept to begin with. Why is this dog flying a biplane fighter aircraft, the Sopwith Camel? Why are we fighting against an actual historical person? The reality is complicated. Peanuts had this recurring bit where Snoopy was pretending he was a World War I pilot, like most dogs do, fighting the Red Baron, and Charlie Brown would be like, what's with this stupid dog? Tee-hee, ha-ha, the 60s, y'all. This, for some reason, was a popular concept. Heck, it even inspired a popular music hit from the time, Snoopy versus the Red Baron by the Royal Guardsmen.
A hero rose, a funny-looking dog.
Number 2 top hit on the charts, selling 3 million copies, by the way. No big deal, MBD. Anyways, this whole thing with Snoopy in World War I was an oddball for sure, but this would swing around 40 years later, bringing the classic 4-coma bit to the PlayStation 2 for the second time. There's actually an Atari 2600 game. But that doesn't feature a real plane.
Sopwith Camel, a precision flying machine specifically constructed for the World War I flying ace.
Yeah, no more imagination. We're doing barrel rolls for real.
Do a barrel roll.
I do love me a classic dogfight video game. Your Ace Combats, Crimson Skies, High Road to Revenge. Heck, Star Wars Squadron is fun too, so I'm automatically gonna enjoy playing this one. Lo and behold, I think Snoopy versus the Red Baron is pretty alright. It's a rather simplistic affair. After the initial training, you'll pop into a fighter jet, into the billboard of your dreams, and a war zone. And I do mean a war zone. You got a bunch of locales based off of famous battles, including an entire stage called the Front Lines of Verdun. Snoopy's really flying in there and blasting away massive drills because, hey, we gotta keep this rated E10 plus, okay? The controls are thankfully solid, it's responsive, and while it doesn't have that Star Fox 64 intensity, you'll be able to do barrel rolls and flips with the press of a button. It's got a little bit of jank, especially with the hit detection and impact when you run into walls, but it is serviceable. Since this is a kid-friendly game, there's a generous amount of auto aim on the machine guns, and special weapons go into the wacky zone, like fire boomerangs. Sure. Smart thinking, Snoopy. The hay is burning. Yo, what?
I demand union representation!
Well, at the very least, the spirit of Peanuts is here. The comic that began with someone going, "I hate you, Charlie Brown." It's just a little weird that Bandai Namco is behind this one. I had no idea they wanted to fund a Snoopy game, but hey, I'll take it. And another, Snoopy Flying Ace for the Xbox 360. A game that got a 9 out of 10 from IGN and an 80 from Metacritic. It's almost as good as Black Myth Wukong. Delisted. Oh. Okay. Which is a shame because the gameplay I've seen of Flying Ace is top tier. It's way faster, runs smoother, and the objectives seem more varied. All of this from something that was a digital exclusive Xbox Live arcade game? Sure. It feels weird to call this concept something so bizarre to begin with, a set of hidden gems, but I think they are. If you're wanting to check out a licensed game that expanded on a couple of one-off jokes from a 60s 4-panel gag comic, a very specific request, both Snoopy versus the Red Baron and Flying Ace are worth your time. Turns out I really like games starring animals or anthropomorphic characters and fighter planes. Hey, you might as well borrow from the best. All right, a couple honorable mentions before our main event. Stuff that may not have a lot to talk about, but is still cool, like a bargain bin Rapidfire. Speed Racer for the PlayStation 2, like the game based on the Wachowskis film. A massive guilty pleasure of mine, if only for this line.
Oh my God, was that a ninja?
More like a nanja.
Yeah. Well, it's got a PlayStation 2 game, and it actually kinda rules. In that acid trip of a film, there's all sorts of colors and wacky stuff happening on the screen, and this video game does a great job replicating that. Turns out aping off of Extreme G and Wipeout makes for a good Speed Racer video game, one where you do flips and knock people around. A hidden gem for sure. Speaking of anime adapted into film, there's also Astro Boy. No, not that one. Not that one either. Those are decent. Let's rock it. I mean, Astro Boy, the video game for the PS2 and PSP based off the film starring Freddie Highmore, Kristen Bell, and Nick Cage. Turns out stinky old Astro Boy turns into a stinky platformer too. Seriously, Treasure nailed it with Omega Force. How did they release something like this a few years later while trying to do something similar?
Whoa, what are you doing?
You may not be Toby, but you're still my son.
Dad.
God, it's so emotional. Yo, why does this dude look like the critic from Ratatouille? Yogi Bear for the Wii. Told you it was coming, boo-boo. Though, I really wish it wasn't. Just the cover of this thing creeps me out. I feel like there's a good possibility that this would be the last thing I see before I die. I never saw the movie, and according to reviews, neither should anyone, but Yogi Bear for the Wii is exactly what it looks like. An incredibly generic, run-of-the-mill platformer. Just one with a one-frame crouch. Sneak around to find all the picnic baskets and, jump around. It's zoomed out so far, like they were expecting you to boot up Ouija Bear in your 65-inch thick rear projection television. This game's a grandparent birthday gift because they think Yogi Bear is relevant. You can probably still find this at any Bass Pro Shop. That's right, D3 publisher hitting the deep south. Super middling platformers and licensed games are a match made in heaven, or hell rather, so this kind of thing isn't uncommon. Like Jurassic Park: The Lost World for the PlayStation 1, a game where you can play as the dinos or a human. You also get to watch cool cutscenes like this.
Just keep moving.
Where are they?
What am I supposed to be looking at? Remember, be the hunter, not the hunted. Otherwise, next time we see you, you'll look like this. Yo, what? I kind of look like that anyways after playing an hour of this. Coming in with a solid 1 out of 5 stars from the official US PlayStation magazine, Lost Worlds has you at odds with the controls the entire time. Each dinosaur has different attacks and several ways to grab and smash. But while you're trying to figure that out, you'll get pelted by an endless barrage of nonsense trying to end your life. I do like that in order to restore health, you have to have a snack. Not the hunter though, you get a health pack. If you can't tell by watching footage of me trying to do platforming with a dinosaur that locks your position based on the direction you're facing, Lost World feels bad. The frame rate is abysmal, the combat is nonsensical, and half the time you'll shoot a gun and miss because what is a hitbox? This is the type of licensed video games I remember growing up. Oh, playable T-Rex? Let's go! Ah, cool. I guess the audio just didn't want to show up today. Yeah, this is fine. If you've ever wanted to play a game that'll straight up rate your skill level after every stage, this one's for you. I swear I'm not bad. Lord of the Rings, Aragorn's Quest for the PlayStation 2. What happens when you take one of the most beloved characters from one of the most famous franchises of all time and turn it into a cheap Zelda clone? No, I'm not talking about 2003's The Hobbit. I'm talking about this weird hybrid of cartoonish overdesign and Uncanny Valley. The Hobbits look all cartoony and Legolas just kind of looks like Orlando Bloom. It's weird. Well, this game, which I'm sure we'll get into another time because it's a lot, also got a previous generation port on the PlayStation 2 and PSP. Something I can only describe as Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, but awful. The whole thing is essentially a quick jaunt through Lord of the Rings as Sam, actually voiced by Sean Astin too, is telling his kids how cool Aragorn was. Look, I love me some of those older Lord of the Rings games. The Two Towers and Return of the King are legit amazing. The Third Age is super underrated and Shadow of Mordor is great. This version screams kids game, which I guess is fair. I guess the kids need something. It's just too bad there wasn't a legion of people playing Lord of the Rings Conquest to keep it online. Oh, how I miss thee. Yo, they were really making Lord of the Rings everything. We got Hearthstone clones, Battlefield clones, RTSs, MMOs, an upcoming Farm Life sim, and who could forget Guardians of Middle Earth, the Dota clone. They should bring that back. I need the Jungle Golem again. We've tackled 60s comic strips, a few old Advergames, a cartoon or two, some Disney stuff, and even whatever Alf is. But how about that anime? Anime and video games have also gone hand in hand since the beginning of time, and unfortunately the success ratio is about the same. Although when some of those games come over here, they become immediately obscure due to like 3 layers of discovery. Point in case, most arena fighters. Look, all I'm saying is that something like Kill la Kill If went in one ear and out the other. You might even say it lost its way. I feel weird referring to a game released in the last 5 years as something you forgot about, but those Steam charts and PlayStation profile numbers don't lie. Developed by A+ Games, the people who brought us that Little Witch Academia side-scrolling beat-em-up that was kind of disappointing, Kill la Kill If is an arena fighter. A decent one too. It keeps that striking Studio Trigger style that Kill la Kill loves showing off with massive text across the screen and does this interesting thing with the animations where they flow like traditional animation. It's also not even going through the plot of the story. A+ and publisher ArcSys gave us a totally original alternate version of the series with the original writer supervising, so they decided to make a full product for the fans that isn't just a bunch of rehash. The gameplay isn't incredible or anything. It is absolutely an arena anime fighter, albeit a pretty good one. Your enjoyment here is going to be tied directly to how much you like the original series though, so only pick this one up if you're already a Kill la Kill fan. It's a bit light on content, but you're able to snatch it for 20 bucks on the regular, and for that, I think it's pretty neat. Gamagori the best though.
I'm on official business!
There's a lot of games like this too. For example, were you aware that Eureka 7 had not one, but 2 different video games that came to the West? If you haven't seen the original Eureka 7 anime, it's worth it, I think. My wife says it is. I haven't had the time to sit down with it yet. But these 2 games popped out in the mid-2000s, got middling reviews, likely poor sales, but most importantly, actually existed. Although maybe we shouldn't have had melee combat in the mecha anime video game.
Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I do.
On my last trip to Japan, I found a whole bunch of games that were based on anime I watched growing up, like Slayers, Ice Shield 21, and Kino no Tabi. 3 of my faves ever, none of which were translated, so I'm just gonna have to like hold my phone awkwardly in front of the screen and use like Google Translate as it happens in real time, or I could give up and boot up my copy of Zoids Legacy for the Game Boy Advance. Zoids Legacy. I don't really have much to say here. It's a strategy RPG with Zoids. It's good. I grew up watching Zoids New Century on Toonami. I thought BitCloud was the coolest guy of all time. I drew him in my sketchbook when I was 11. Or I traced him, I guess. What, I thought he was cool. Give me a Zoids RPG for the Game Boy Advance. I'm set for 10 hours and a couple of replays as a 12-year-old. By the way, if you haven't heard the Japanese opening for that show, No Future, it freaking slaps. You know what I didn't grow up with? One Piece. I think I just missed the boat on that one. Started airing in the States when I was 14, which is when World of Warcraft became my entire life, so I never got on with those escapades beyond the first few chapters in American Shonen Jump. When that show's opening theme tossed onto my Winamp player so I could practice drums poorly to it. We are. Well, 4Kids One Piece was airing, but it wasn't quite the hit I think everyone thought it would be. Fast forward to now, where in the last 3 to 4 years, everyone's Gear 5 crazy. I see the latest volumes sitting around in Target. It's popular now. I also play the One Piece TCG occasionally. That shit is sold out everywhere, and I can't get the cards I need on a regular basis, but I sure do love my Reiju deck. But none of that matters. We're talking about Shonen Jump's One Piece Grand Adventure for the GameCube. I got 3 words for you. Power Stone Clone. Yeah, a Dreamcast fan in me is awoken. One Piece Grand Adventure is the sequel to Grand Battle, which is technically the 4th game in a fighting series that was mostly Japanese exclusive, the first 2 being admittedly pretty rough PlayStation 1 Smash clones, but they really nailed it out with Grand Battle. Well, and here's the kicker, One Piece Grand Adventure is Western only. Yeah, a Western only One Piece game in the 2000s. One of 2 because the Game Boy Advance title is as well. You just gotta be prepared to spend $120 for a loose cart. Sounds like another video to me. Grand Adventure though, this one is really cool. Admittedly, I'm not the biggest One Piece fan, mostly because I have a hard time trekking through classic shonen these days. But when you tell me they took something Power Stone inspired and turned it into a fully fledged single player campaign with RPG-like mechanics, I'm down. You just gotta put up with some of the English dub.
You chowderhead.
That sounds awful. That really does sound like Zirkin, huh? This is a true brother check-in, showing support. Grand Adventure is very simple. You float around to different islands and stages doing fights and occasionally mini-games, some of which are good fun. You can level up each character individually and take them into the different campaigns. You can use them to fight in the arena mode, which is basically Grand Battle tossed into the mix, and you get a very condensed version of the One Piece story where Nami is suddenly like, thanks for the help, homie, I'll join you, as opposed to, you know. But hey, 4Kids, baby. We're hanging with Zolo and Chaser. He gonna smoke ya. Don't forget Carrot. Wait, no, that's not Carrot. Shonen Jump's One Piece Grand Adventure is a clear example of a fantastic licensed game. It's also weird that it's only in English. It feels feature complete. It's got a whole bunch of stuff you can do, and it's fun. The Power Stone style arena combat can get a bit repetitive in the solo campaign, as fights take literal moments sometimes, but it's got just enough variety with the minigames to hold your attention. Super underrated GameCube title, super underrated One Piece title, and unfortunately, something that got pelted with negativity at release. Thankfully, I think it's aged really well, besides some of the voice acting.
I come! I come! I come!
So there you have it, the One Piece, and also a bunch of licensed video games that you may have forgotten about. Absolutely none of which are certified classics, but if you ever find yourself with a copy of One Piece Grand Adventure or Speed Race for the PS2, it's a pretty alright time. You know, I think I might have accidentally osmosised myself into learning a lot about One Piece. I played through like half of Pirates Warriors 4 in co-op while half paying attention, but I do know that there's a lot of crying and emotional moments. But seriously, I need the price on some of those cards to go down. I'm not paying $120 for 4 yellow katakuris. If you liked today's video, and I hope you did, check out the sponsor Delete Me, and get to protecting your personal info today. It's a pretty good service. You can also head over to the Patreon and become a member, which will go directly into the channel and get you access to the supporter Discord. If you've ever wanted reminders about that one Sony patent where you have to stand up and say McDonald's, I'm never gonna let it go. Buy a t-shirt over at the Pixel Empire, leave us a like, a comment, a subscription, and just let me know if there's any other licensed games you want to see me talk about in the future. I wanted to do the PlayStation 3 version of Aragorn's Quest, but that's gonna require a little more time. Time's all we got, baby. So I'ma head out. I've been Austin, and catch me next time when we talk about a bunch of forgotten Sega games. That's like what, 60% of them? Thank you so much for watching. Special Patreon shout out to Aaron Kwolek, Alfred Correa, Benna Oswald, Blackfoot Ferret, Blake Thomas, Charles Rosner, Cheeks, Chris Shelton, DX Buster, Dylan Snyder, Fragile Traveler, Hey Quiggles, Idlevice, Jay Roosh, Jacoby Fitzpatrick, Kevin Zanowski, Platinum Rose, Pacha Bear, Randall Bentley, Rare Find It, Ryan Talbert, and Vox. Thank you all so much for the generous support. I bet you weren't expecting another video a week later for reals. This is what happens when you move and need to get a bunch of stuff done and lose 10 days of work, but here we are. Now that my new office is all set up, I'm really excited to get stuff moving, and me and the crew are doing our best to get it done. I just also gotta find some time to play video games. For me, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye bye.